Another expert listing of free agents has the Cardinals linked to not one, but two new names, including a two-time All-Star and former World Series champion.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafron, a former national radio sports anchor, born and raised in St. Louis and a lifetime Cardinals fan, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Big thank you to all the everydayers for joining us throughout the season and into the offseason. For those of you who are new, welcome aboard. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving you all the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode being brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. All right, today's episode, we are once again going to be focused on the free agent market. World Series just ended this weekend. Things are going to start to rev up a little bit as we move towards the winter meetings. You're already starting to see some announcements on players opting out of their contracts for next season. Some pretty big names, which we knew were going to happen. They've already made some decisions. Big one for the Cubs, Shota Imanaga, no longer going to be with the Cubs, at least not right now. He's opted out. Their little mutual agreement thing is kaput. Alex Bregman has opted out of Boston. Pete Alonso and Edwin Diaz with the Mets. Cody Bellinger with the Yankees. Robert Suarez from the Padres. It's a decent chunk of people. It doesn't mean these guys won't renegotiate things and go back to those teams, but for now, they are free agents. Now, Mark Feinsand at MLB.com put out a new listing, kind of similar to the one that Jim Bowden did for The Athletic. We talked about that last week, and he listed his top 30 free agents. And as we've established with the Cardinals, they're likely going to dabble in the free agent market this year. Most experts believe that they will be seeking short-term deals with people, as opposed to any of the bigger multi-year deals that some of the, bigger name free agents are going to be seeking. These guys want security. They want long-term deals. They want, if they are going to take shorter ones, they want the ability to opt out and do things. So, things can change. But if you remember last week, Bowden had the Cardinals linked to 4 free agents. All of them were pitchers. It was Zach Gallen, Brad Keller, Luke Weaver, and Kyle Finnegan. The Zach Gallen one was the one that was like, well, he's probably going to get a bigger contract, so probably doesn't leave the Cardinals in the mix so much. Keller was really, really good with Chicago. As soon as we posted that, I had Sam from Locked On Cubs saying, stay away from our guy. Luke Weaver makes some sense. There's some smoke there. Kyle Finnegan makes some sense. We talked about those guys with Jeff Jones. Now, Feinsand put out his list of free agents, and he did not have the Cardinals linked to any of those 4 guys. None of them. He actually had the Cardinals as potential fits for 2 different names. One of them is a starting pitcher and a big one. And the other one was an infielder, which was pretty interesting considering that the Cardinals have another logjam right now among their infielders. There's a lot of them that they want to see on the field. So once again, similar to Bowden, Feinsand does not have them linked with any of the top 8 guys on his list, which should surprise anybody. At number 1, he's got Kyle Tucker. Then it's Bregman, Schwarber, Bo Bichette, Cody Bellinger, Alonso, Murakami from Japan, and then Michael King. Then at number 9, he's got the Astros, Framber Valdez, and potential suitors. The Cardinals are listed as one of them. He's got the Astros, he's got the Blue Jays, and Cardinals as potential fits. Now, here's what Feinsand says about the soon-to-be 32-year-old left-hander. Valdez was on track to be the top starting pitcher in this year's free agent class, going 11-4 with a 2.62 ERA through his first 21 starts and striking out 141 batters over 134 innings. A lackluster finish to his season. He was 2-7 with a 6.05 ERA over his final 10 starts, and a highly publicized cross-up incident in which he intentionally, hit his catcher in the chest with a fastball following a home run have raised some questions. But his track record as a workhorse should put him in good position to land a healthy deal. Some thoughts courtesy of Keith Law at The Athletic, talking about free agents and talking about Valdez, saying that Valdez was one of only 5 pitchers who have thrown 900 innings over the last 5 seasons since baseball returned from the pandemic-shortened 2020 season. He's a classic sinker baller who led MLB in ground ball rate in 2024. He was 3rd in 2025. We know how the Cardinals love their ground ball guys. Says he's hovering around 60%, working with a plus curveball as his primary off-speed pitch. The curveball has a big 2-plane break, actually increasing a total break this year over 24, and hitters have whiffed on it more than 40% of the time over his career. He uses the curveball against right-handed batters almost twice as often as he uses his changeup. So let's go back to what Feinsand said. The key words in his grouping there in that dialogue was a healthy deal. What exactly does he mean by a healthy deal? Because a healthy deal doesn't sound like something that the Cardinals are probably going to be around for. Are we talking 3 years? Are we talking 5 years? Now, Feinsand doesn't do any of the contract predictions like Bowden did. But in Bowden's article, we can go back to this, he had Valdez rated much higher on the free agent list, where Feinsand had him at number 9, Bowden had him at number 4, and had him at a 6-year, $190 million prediction. That's what he had attached to Framber Valdez. Okay, now, I don't want to burst anyone's bubble because I want fans to be excited about the Cardinals. But come on. Do we really think that the St. Louis Cardinals, in the state of rebuild that they're in right now, are going to fork over anything remotely close to that for a soon-to-be 32-year-old pitcher? What do you think? They weren't willing to do that a couple of years ago when we thought they were in what we considered a winning window and had a chance to make a splash in free agency. Yeah, they signed Sonny Gray, but then they followed that up with 2 veterans on 1-year deals that were at the end of their careers instead of going and getting another top-tier arm to team with Sonny Gray and really make a push for winning something. Instead, they settled for 2 very lackluster signings, and we saw the results. Lackluster baseball, average baseball at best over the last couple seasons. So I'm going to side with the people I've talked to and who are closer to the team and continue to be under the impression that the chances that something of that magnitude happening, a contract of that size, would be slim at best. Like, very slim. I still believe there are plenty of names and arms that are out there that can upgrade this rotation, which honestly shouldn't be that hard, considering what we just witnessed in 2025 when we had to deal with the trio of Eric Fetty, Miles Michaelis, and Andre Palante. That was awful. You can't get much worse than those 3. Honestly, you really can't. And the Cardinals won't have to commit to something as large as that sort of contract with Valdez to do it. I think Heim will need to be more creative than just sinking funds into one guy like this. And if he moves Sonny Gray, he's going to need multiple arms to cover all these innings and pick up the slack. So I can't see that happening. I think it's cute that Feinsand had the Cardinals attached to Framber Valdez, but it doesn't seem all that realistic to me. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section. So that's the first one. Now he's got the Cardinals attached to another guy as well. Not a pitcher this time. Instead, it's an infielder, actually, that he has the Cardinals connected to. We will talk about him next on Locked On Cardinals. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets, that can be a little bit of a hassle, right? You got to deal with the queues and the login screens and the prices, jumping at checkout, and just shocking the hell out of you like you're in a haunted house. You're like, what is that? That's why I use Game Time. As soon as I found Game Time, I've never gone anywhere else. It is the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast. It's easy. It's backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included. They're all included. So the price you see is the price you pay. The app makes things very simple. You can see the exact view of your seats before you buy. You get zone deal options, which lets Game Time pick the seats, helping you save big. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's less stressful, which is what we all want in this day and age than any other way that I've ever bought tickets. I'm sure you're going to agree as well. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you enjoy daily Cardinals content, you can follow the podcast on X at LO_Cardinals. We're also on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Locked On Cardinals as well. So the Cardinals have a lot of infielders at the moment and not enough spots to play them all. This is a similar issue that this team has faced in the outfield for years. For years. It was always, man, we just got so many great outfielders. We don't know what to do with them all. It's crazy. They're coming out everywhere. And unfortunately, every time they would make that statement and John Mozeliak would choose a player to trade away to kind of clear up this logjam, this problem that they have, that player would go on to succeed and kick ass somewhere else, while the guys he decided to keep would either underperform, would be injured, unhappy, whatever. He always chose wrong, it seemed. Now, Chaim Bloom has to adjust things on the infield so that he has the best product on the field moving forward. He's got decisions to make. Nolan Arenado should be traded this offseason. There's no guarantee that he will get moved, as we learned this last offseason. They tried, didn't work. But that should clear up a spot if Arenado decides to move on. There have been plenty of rumblings about trading Brendan Donovan, which has upset some fans. But if it happened, that would also open a spot. But again, no guarantee that that will happen either. If they move both Nato and Donnie, you would still have a nice grouping of young infielders. Like, it's not like these are a bunch of scrubs. You would have your Gold Glover and Masyn Winn at shortstop, who's feeling great after the knee surgery, won the Gold Glove. Awesome stuff. You've got Nolan Gorman, which I know a lot of people have already quit on. They're done with it. They're like, he's never going to be what we want him to be. Move on. But he would still be here in this situation. Thomas Saggese, a guy that they clearly like, did not show the offensive side that we were hoping for last year. But you've seen him be very successful in the minor leagues as an offensive player. So, I mean, it was his rookie year. Maybe cut him a little slack. He was playing off the bench most of the time. So, you know, there's still some ceiling there. Jose Fermin, a very capable infielder, backup infielder. So, probably not somebody you're trying to start. But, you know, he's somebody that seems like a good utility guy, right? Top prospect, JJ Wetherholt. Obviously, somebody's going to have to move aside so JJ can play every day at the major league level when they decide to bring him up. You could also throw in somebody like Cesar Prieto into the mix. Part of the Jack Flaherty deal with the Baltimore Orioles a couple years ago. He's on the 40-man as well. Saw him for a cup of coffee at the major league level too. So in this situation, perhaps the next free agent makes more sense. If Nato is gone, if Donovan is gone, maybe you look at the infield free agent market and see what you got. With all of those guys still here, it still feels like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but this isn't my list. At number 27 on Feinsand's list at MLB.com, he has got Detroit Tigers infielder Gleyber Torres listed. And potential fits, he has got Cleveland Guardians, the Minnesota Twins, and your St. Louis Cardinals. Here's what he has to say about Torres. Torres had to settle on a 1-year, $15 million deal in his first foray into free agency, but he'll give it another go after making his third career All-Star team and first since 2019. Slash 284, 386, 437 with 9 home runs and 43 RBIs in 72 games through the end of June. But his production fell off in the second half, where he posted a slash line of 229, 331, 339 with 7 home runs and 31 RBIs in 73 games from July 1st through the end of the season. He says Torres's plate discipline was strong, ranked in the 100th percentile in chase rate and 95th percentile in walk rate, and placed in the top 20% in both whiff and strikeout percentage, but his defense was shaky, ranking in the 12th percentile with a -5 outs above average. So if we go to what Keith Law had to say about him from The Athletic, he says his main skill at the plate right now is his ball strike recognition, as he had the second lowest chase rate among all qualified hitters in 25, behind only the master of the form, Juan Soto. Pitchers changed their method of attack against him in the second half, however, working more in the strike zone to Torres. The result was unsurprising. He ended up in more 2-strike counts, and it dragged down his performance, with his strikeout rate jumping from 12.8% in the first half to 20.4% in the second. He's not a good defender at second, with surprisingly poor range from a former shortstop. Now on Bowden's list, he had Torres at number 22. And said that a hernia injury could be to blame for the struggles that Gleyber had in the second half, but he thinks that Torres has done enough to earn a multi-year contract in the neighborhood of 4 years and $52 million. So, the Cardinals are definitely looking for some extra offensive thump, right? They are. They need more offense from the lineup. They could use more offense from the right side in particular. A lot of left-handed hitters, right? In that sense, Torres's bat does make sense. The plate discipline that they mentioned is obviously a plus. But clearing a spot for JJ Wetherholt seems to be the top priority, right? Shouldn't it be? Shouldn't that be what we're focused on right now? So adding another name to the mix of people who are blocking his path doesn't seem to jive with what the Cardinals should be wanting to do. Torres has only played shortstop and second base in his career. So you've got a Gold Glover in Masyn Winn already. Second base, again, you've got Donovan, you've got Gorman, you've got a Sajasi, you've got a Fermin. JJ Wetherholt's got to play somewhere. Now, you could, if we're moving the pieces around here, you could have JJ playing third base. You could have Winn at short and then Torres at second base. Now, how does Gorman fit into that situation? Is he even still around to matter anymore? We don't know that yet. We don't know. To me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Unless it's a 1-year deal and you've already moved on from a number of people. You've still got to move Anato, Donnie, unless Donnie's playing left field, which that could be what's happening. Do they feel more comfortable with JJ at third than second base? Does Gorman play at third? Or is it, like, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of questions still surrounding that before you go off and sign an infielder. But I'm definitely not interested if it's for what Bowden predicted. Like, I'm not signing this dude to 4 years and $52 million. That's for sure. That just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me. But those are the two guys that Feinsand says that would be potential fits for the Cardinals. Framber Valdez, Gleyber Torres. What do you guys think? Leave your thoughts in the comments section down below. You can hit me up on X as well. John Denton just wrote about how the Cardinals could have how he could see the Cardinals have a Blue Jays-like turnaround, which would be incredible, obviously. But in doing so, he brings up another familiar name as far as free agents go that just so happen to play for Toronto this year. We'll discuss it coming up next on Locked On Cardinals. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I, we make decisions every day. Some are good, some are bad. But on Prize Picks, when you're right, that can get you paid, which is what we want. Don't miss out on the excitement of this sports season, whether you're following the NFL, whether it's the NBA, whether it's both. Maybe you're a crazy sports fan like me, where it's in NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB. Bring it all. Bring all the sports in. There's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. That's it. 2 player stats. And if you get them right, you win. It's so quick. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere Prize Picks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. I'm a big fantasy sports guy. I've been using Prize Picks during both football season on Sundays, and now that the NBA is tipped off, I'm doing that as well. The new Stacks feature is a game changer for both NFL and NBA. You find a guy that can do just about everything. So in the NBA, it's Nikola Jokic for me. Nikola Jokic is my guy. Any fantasy league, if I'm in basketball, I try to draft him or trade for him, get him because he does it all. You can now pick more on his points, his threes, his assists, his rebounds, all of it. You can do it all and do it in the same lineup. Plus, if one of your player leaves early with an injury, the injury reboot is going to save your lineup from a loss. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB, hosted by Sully, who brings you that daily blend of humor and baseball throughout the offseason. You can find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Now, we just watched the Toronto Blue Jays go from worst to first in the American League East. 20 games under 500 last year. They win the division the next year. Go all the way to the World Series. 2 outs away. 2 outs away from winning before the Dodgers and superstar infielder Miguel Rojas broke all their hearts in Canada with the game-tying home run, and then Will Smith stomped on them and crushed them into sawdust with his game-winning dinger in extra innings. It was a fantastic World Series, and it's every team and fan base's dream that you have one bad year where you stink, and then the next year you turn it around, bounce back, you become relevant again, and go on to do great things like the Toronto Blue Jays just did. And John Denton, who covers the Cardinals for MLB.com, kind of mapped out a way for the Cardinals to have a Toronto-like turnaround. And he mentions a couple of different aspects that, we can go into in another episode of why and why not it would make sense. Because I see his thought process of, hey, if these certain things happen and this lines up, this is why they could be winners again. And I get that, you're seeing things through a positive lens. So maybe we can cover that in another episode. But what he says at the very end coincides with what we've been discussing today, which is the free agent market. And the final piece that he mentions in this blueprint, if you will, of turning the Cardinals around is, once again, free agent pitcher Max Scherzer. Here's what he says. Finally bring Max Scherzer home. Hey, acquiring Scherzer worked for the Jays, who wrote a couple of strong Mad Max playoff performances this October. Scherzer, a Chesterfield, Missouri native, was a 43rd round draft pick by the Cardinals in 2003 before he opted for Mizzou. Through the years, St. Louis passed on chances to sign or trade for the likely future Hall of Famer that many fans consider the one who got away. Think Scherzer wants to keep playing? He told MLB.com's Keegan Matheson, I may be 41 years old, but I never thought I could love baseball this much. Now, as cool as that story would be, and as much fun as it would be to see Scherzer finally wearing a Cardinals uniform, something that we have kicked around for the better part of the last decade of what it would be to have somebody of his ability, his energy, all of it, bring him home. As much as that would be great, I continue to believe that he would rather pitch for a contender than play what could possibly be his final season as a Major League Baseball player, because you never know. I cannot see him doing it, toiling away with the rebuilding and hopefully competitive St. Louis Cardinals. And again, hopefully competitive St. Louis Cardinals, because we don't know. The last 3 seasons have not been that competitive. They've been very meh. Unless his desire to play in St. Louis supersedes his wanting to win. If it supersedes anything else he wants to accomplish in this game anymore, then I don't see how this will happen. Like, it's the only thing that I can see why he would come to St. Louis is just so he could say he finally played for his hometown team. And he's played all over North America: Arizona, Detroit, Washington, LA, New York, Texas, Toronto. He's won in almost every single place he's played. He was only on a 1-year, $15.5 million deal with the Blue Jays. In my opinion, it's not the money. That's not the problem. It's not the money that would keep him out of St. Louis. It would be his desire to be on a good team and winning. That would be the deciding factor to me. And I'm just not convinced that settling for a job in St. Louis is what he wants if they aren't going to be contending for anything. Now, if the Cardinals were in a different spot, if it was the Cardinals from 2 years ago when they were coming off that god-awful 2023 season and they had a chance to sign Sonny and Max Scherzer, that would have made sense, right? But that didn't happen. Instead, it was Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson. But that's just my opinion. That's my opinion. And of course, you still got the Sonny Gray thing. Like, would a Sonny Gray, Max Scherzer combo be awfully nice to go along with a Liberatore, a McGreevy, and whoever else they decide to put in that number 5 spot? Sure. But is he willing to be around for something like that? Where, hey, we could be decent. We could also be below 500 again. There's a real good chance at that if certain people don't step the game up. We're also getting rid of guys like Nolan Arenado. He's going to be gone. We got a Willie Contreras over here, but there's a lot of young guys. I just don't know. I don't know if that's where Max Scherzer would want to be. But what do you think? That's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Can we tug at Max's heartstrings enough to make him come home and play for the Cardinals for 1 year at least? Or do you agree with me that he wants to be where he's got a chance to win? I mean, you saw how excited he was in Toronto, right? So let me know in the comments section down below. We can discuss it. Big thank you for making Locked On Cardinals, to all of you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on X at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio, TikTok, and Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. Like, subscribe on YouTube. By the way, thank you. We did it. 13,000 subscribers on YouTube. You guys rock. You guys are the best. Now we make the push for 15 before the regular season starts in 2026. So that's kind of the goal I've set for myself now. So if you haven't and you like daily Cardinals content, you haven't liked or subscribed yet, hook it up, man. Get it done. It's real quick. Boom, boom. You'll get us in your notifications that every day when we drop something new, keeping you up to date throughout the entire offseason. We don't venture off. This is Cardinals only. We don't slide into the other sports or whatever, although good stuff by the Blues last night and winning. Watch that one. That was awesome. So if you're not a part of the Cardinal Nation here at Locked On Cardinals, be a part of it. Like, subscribe. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. And we will see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.